Ian, who's going to share on step 5. Over to you, Ian.
Thanks, Ros. My name's Ian, I'm an addict. Thanks, Ros, for asking me. Thanks to everyone who's done service. And great to see all people that I've known. I feel like I've come home when I come to this meeting. And also I haven't used for over 18 years now, so I feel like I've just made the cut to share. And I was like that in the over 8 as well. I used to think, well, I can't wait till I'm 8 years, and then I got to 8 years and so on. And so it's nice to have. So does that mean I'm an old timer? I can't say that. Like I'm in shame when I say that. I don't feel like an old timer. I am where I live in Essex. Actually, I'm one of the ones that with clean time, which is weird. But in here, I'm the newcomer, and if you are new, I don't mean as in, if you're very new, welcome. So step 5, I'll have to get straight into step 5. How long have we got? 15 minutes? 20. So the first step 5 I done was in, I can remember meeting Jane, it was in the speaker meeting, I just wrote me step 4, I was 9 months clean. I can remember writing the 4th step, and I see the 5th step as like a rucksack of feelings and shame and guilt and all that and heaviness, and I had it like it was to my chest. Don't want to leave it on the bus, you know what I mean? And then getting to my sponsor's house and on the way and going, oh, can I say these things? There's some things in there I don't want to say, and I had to trust in the higher power. I had to find myself, in the first 4 steps, and the 3rd step I made the decision to work the steps. So I had to really understand that on my way to my sponsors at that time. And there was some things in that. I had abuse when I was a kid, and that was the biggest part of that. It's funny because when I share on a step, I always seem to go back to the original first one I'd wrote. But I've done a few since then, which are in different areas. And that first one, it was about the abuse. It was definitely about that. I had about 8 resentments to share and look at my part in the resentments on family members, basically. Myself, I was on there. And I had to look at what I'd done to the family. So what was the patterns, and my pattern was I just walked out of people's lives. So it was like I was there and then I wasn't there. And I wasn't returning for like a good 20 years or something. There's a lot of abandonment from me to my daughter, to my mum, to my brothers, my sisters. I had to own that, and it says about can you get I didn't have the blame thrower. I had more about it was towards me. And I could own what I'd done or see what I'd done, and I had to share this with this sponsor. And when it comes to the abuse bit, it says in our step working guide, pause and phone your sponsor and check if it's okay. So I did, and I said, look, I'm ready to do this. And he went, do it then. He said, I hear you, do it. So I did, and then I had to, when I come to share it, and I've got to his house, and I'm thinking, He said to me, what's your part? And I'm saying that because it was such bad guidance. I didn't have a part. I was 8 years old, you know what I mean? I didn't have a part at all. But I was chewing myself up in my room before writing this, going, so what did I go in for? What was it? What was my bit? And when it comes to sharing it, I was fuming, and I said, I haven't got a part. And he said, you never told anyone. And I thought, it's just bad guidance, you know what I mean? And anyway, so I don't want to assassinate the first sponsor, but I kind of have, haven't I?
Not anymore.
And then he changed smoke, just smoked loads of roll ups while I was going through it, and then after the shared it, he fucking put a share CD on of himself. Anyway, that's another story. So there's my first fix there. But what I will say is that I did come out feeling lighter. I was baffled, still am baffled about that guidance on that bit. But it wasn't about that and about where me looking for my part and stuff. It was about me having my voice and releasing something in that moment in the presence of an higher power, in the presence of another human being. He couldn't manage what I was saying, but that's not up to me, is it? You know what I mean? So then I let go of him about, I don't know, about a month after that. And then I moved on to someone else, and I was on step 6 then, so it was, I've got to go back to step 1 again. And he went, yeah. I had to go all through it again, and then I had the second step, 5, which was more, and on the first one, also the defects and the assets part of it, he gave me these, like, I can remember, like it was yesterday, going into the old ARP meeting, but the afternoon one, on a Saturday, about 2 o'clock, 2:30 or so. And I've just got this list of defects, like they were like that, and all the old timers were going, fucking hell, there isn't that many defects. There isn't that many. What, you know, keep it simple, just to a few, and what's the main ones and stuff. I was baffled with it. And then on the second, 5th step, my sponsor, I've still got that sponsor now, and I can remember it. I went to his office in Hammersmith, and I'd gone all through it again. And he gave me a pen. And he said, so what's your part, and what's your defects, do you think? And he's putting some down, and I'm putting some down. And part of my patterns were going to unavailable people. Most of the relationships I've been in, I've had 5 in recovery, and each one of them have said to me, you're self-centered. For fucking liberty. But I am. It's like, come and walk the dog with me on a Sunday in the woods, and I'm thinking, I'll match you the day 2's on in a minute, you know what I mean? I don't really, I think of me before anyone else, and I'd never, I couldn't believe it. I was doing loads of service. I thought, what do you mean I'm self-centered? Anyway, so what I do though is I go to people that I seem to seek approval from, or I'm forever rescuing them out of a mood. You know, so if there's a low mood, I've got to fix the mood, and that was my pattern as a kid in the family. Like there's literally me brothers, me sisters, me nephews, me nieces, me dad, all in addiction. So it was very chaotic. It was you know, gouching out or drunk or unavailable, judgmental. You know, someone had walked past my mum's living room window, just a couple walked past, and my mum would go, look at the state of him with there, what's he doing? People are just walking past the window, you know what I mean? But then I'm in recovery, and I'm going, look at the state of his trainees over there. I'm becoming my mum, and I seen like these patterns very quick. Or the other one is always looking for something underneath things. So with my family, it was the nature of what I kind of born into, and had to change, was looking at sort of someone's work and say, my first thing will go, but are they talking about signing on the sly and all that? You know, I'd always look at the negative, and that was really difficult to shift in recovery when I got clean, judging people, all of that. And this all came out in this pattern work, and I can remember doing that 5th step in Hammersmith in my sponsor's office, and he said to me, you do seek approval a lot, don't you? And all of the relationships you have, at that time Facebook had just come out, and I'd do a feed, and if it didn't get so many likes, I'd be mortified, and I'd be changed. I needed you to, like, you know, hit me with 20 likes or something, and then more, and it just tapped into the approval. So that was the second layer of the 5th step for me, looking at. But like I said, I did have assets, and I did have defects, and my defects that I had to learn about was shame. Shame was my biggest. I mean, with the abuse, for instance, so being an 8-year-old, having that level of abuse as a child, I didn't know what my sexuality was. I used to think of men in my mind, and I've always been with a woman, but I'd have these thinking and thoughts, and they were my first earliest thoughts, you know what I mean, and my first earliest experiences. And to be able to shift that and not think I'm so bad and there's something wrong with me and all of that, and so another person to hear me and say, you know, it's okay, it wasn't your fault. That was the second 5th step. It's not your fault. I remember seeing Good Will Hunting, and he says it in that movie, it's not your fault, it's not your fault. And I had that moment, exactly like that moment, where I was going, yeah, no it weren't, and then he's going, no, it's not your fault. And I was going, no. And then he just kept at it gently, saying, it's not your fault, didn't have part. I just went, oh, and that was, to be able to just be liberated and freed from that, because it had governed me for so long. It still does. It doesn't govern me, but it still pops in, In my job at the moment, it's happening to others, so it's coming up all the time. I used to wet the bed until I was like 14 years old. And then I'm at my mum going, why didn't you, where were you? All of that. So yeah, shame was like a bar of rock name right through me core. And someone said to me the other week that the Latin word for core is heart. And I did. Shame was like, it was like a fingerprint on my heart of like dirt and stuff with this shame. And that's why I like coming to meetings where there's old timers and they can know and they talk about step work and they say how they work through it. And I heard a guy say, he said, I'm 25 years clean, and he said, and I've finally started to move past the shame and in front of the shame. I've never heard that, ever, in any meeting, any time, and that was only about 2 years ago I started to hear that, and I thought, fucking hell, I can move in front of it. It doesn't have to govern me. See, the nature of my thoughts and my sort of actions is to belittle myself and think badly of myself. That's what I've kind of grown into. But seeing assets and me writing assets and looking at, they're also my nature and they're also my behaviours of being of service, showing love, having compassion. All of these other things were coming out of the fifth step. And then I was speaking to my sponsor yesterday, and he said, I went, where was our last step 5? And he said, it was in yours. Okay, so he travelled, I live in Essex now, and he travelled up and stayed over the weekend. I mean, that's cool, that, for a sponsor to do that, you know what I mean, to actually... And he's got a lot of time. I love sponsorship. It's the only space in time in a week that's for me and him and just us, and I talk about all of my stuff. No one else gives me that. Everyone else does a condition. With that, it's unconditional, and it's just space for me to just go, this is what's been happening. And I've been doing that with him for like 15 and a half years. Every week I phone him, there's the only time if I'm away, and I do it out of respect. I do it, if there's nothing going on, I'll just call him anyway, just to check in. But I've built up this relationship, and he came to mine, and we're doing another fifth step. And again, all that approval was there. It was the approval, it was the people pleasing. But it was around, like when I first got clean, the steps were about making amends to the people in my family who had walked out on and done that. The last fifth step and process through the steps was all around my family again, but how I can step away from them but not feel guilt and shame, because half of them are off their head. They're like, my family's like some mad inbred, hillbilly, it's nuts in the family. You go in the family, my nephew says it best, he says, treat the family like an armed robbery, in quick and out quick. And that's what I do. I go to the family, have a little hotel, and there's a little pool and all that in the hotel. So I go to the hotel, and then I go into the family. And when it gets tough, I go, fuck that, and then I go back to the hotel, and I go to meetings and stuff. So I'll just talk about my daughter a minute. So I had a lot in the previous fifth steps. My defects were like about letting go of people, not being available. Shame was my big one, resentment, fears, all of this. But guilt was a massive one with my daughter. How guilty I felt around her. And the reality is that she's 31, and she never contacts when I contact. She only ever asks for money. You know, there's never like, how are you doing, Dad? What's happening? You know, just any money. That's it in a text. So it's like a reenactment of the abandonment I done. She now does to me, and I have to like look at that and go, oh. But how am I going to deal with it, and how am I going to have my assets in that, and also be spiritual principles, and how am I going to like work with this? On a bad day, I just tell her to fuck off, basically. Don't come near me. I don't want to, you know, I've had enough of this now. On my birthday, so she said, what do you want for your birthday? And I don't know what I said, something like a little UBS thing for the computer or so. And she said, right, and sent me a picture from Amazon, that one. I went, yeah, and then she didn't send it. And my birthday is on Father's Day, a couple of days after, so there's the two things in one. So there was no card, there was a promise, a broken promise, which that showed me in my fifth step as how many broken promises I'd done, how many times I didn't show up. And she's now doing that to me. So then I let that go and thought, well, I done it to her. And if you go to a meeting and share that, that's what any member normally says to you, but didn't you do that? You know, well, yeah, but I still feel like shit right now. You know? So what I done is I let that slide, and then she done it again, and I said, okay, I'll give her this other chance. So the next year, so the next birthday, look, what do you want, Dad? And I went, listen, no, you might have been hard a bit last year, so maybe just get us a card. And it's another thing that, I don't know if it's just a family thing in my family. Do you want this? What do you want for your birthday? I want this. Oh, no, don't get that. You know, well, what do you just ask me for? And asked me daughter, I want a card. Oh, no, we don't get cards. Don't do cards anymore. I said, no. Doesn't listen. My sister, I can just have a big fry up, and my sister goes, do you want something to eat? And I go, no, just had a fry up. And she'll go, do you want some of these scones? I've got some scones. I go, no, I can't. I've just had a fry up. I've just got this bread from Marx's. Do you want this bread? You know, they just don't listen, basically. And part of, I didn't listen for a long time, and what the fifth step done for me was learn me how to listen, learn me how to hear people. So this time with my daughter, she said, I've just given it to her and said, look, I'm not going to, she let me down on the second time again. So then the third time come, and I give her a long message, because I was waiting, speaking to my sponsor, and he said, talk to her. But she would never answer the phone, she still doesn't. I've just given her £100 this morning. She's asked for money again, and you know, so I'm still doing the things that I said. I have a boundary one time, and then I don't on another. But she doesn't communicate, and part of that communicating, really, when I look at the nature of what I done, me and her mum were using. So when she was brought up, all up until she was like 10, we didn't communicate. I used to have her in front of the Teletubbies on the TV. While I'm smoking gear in the room and shutting the door, and it was things like chicken nuggets you could just put in the oven. You know, pizza takes 20 minutes. Everything was like instant. The food she likes now, chicken nuggets, Chicago town pizzas. That's what she still eats now. You know what I mean? Because that's what we like. But there was no dialogue. There was no how you feel, and there was none of that with it. There was just avoidance. No communication, and that's exactly what she's doing now, and that's painful when I see that, you know, to actually see I created a lot of that as well. But what's good is that I can hear that, I told her, and that's what the fifth step give me. It gives me the ability to have a voice, to be able to say things in a principled way, and I sent her a message, and I said, I don't want anything, you know, I just, you haven't been around, and I don't know how I actually worded it, but I had to like do it about 20 times and phone my sponsor and say, what's this sound like? And then I got the right version, and I sent it off. And then we didn't speak for a few years, didn't speak literally for about 2 years, and now it's back again, but still can't get it on the phone. So step 5 was a weight lifted off me. It was also a pattern of behaviour, who I go to, who's unavailable, can I be around available people rather than unavailable people. You know, I'm not going to go into toxic situations anymore, because I was always in toxic situations, and that's with the family as well. And I've got a kind of a quiet little life now. You know, I live out in the middle of nowhere, there's, you know, you have to follow a bat to go to the shop. It's basically like that. There's no dramas. There's no fucking police sirens and someone getting twisted up on the doorway. It used to be me getting twisted up. You can go to the shop and you can put like money, get a newspaper and put the money in a pot. They trust you. Don't have that in Kirby, I'm telling you. So recovery's given me that. So I'll just end with the fifth step has kind of been a game changer for me. I'm a step person. I don't really not do step work. Whenever there's one there, I have to get pen to paper, really. I'm a doer. And why I'm a doer is because I see what the freedom I get every time I share one of them and my sponsors out. So I hope it made sense, and thanks for letting me share.
Thank you. Thank you.